Now, the finger action itself. The main thing that we want to achieve here is to have independence of each finger. So the opposite generally happens when somebody begins to teach themselves guitar and they get, they like fingerstyle and they get some fingerstyle book and they start hitting individual strings with the fingers. What invariably happens, first of all, they're going to be 10 times tenser than they need to be to begin with, but they'll use a finger and then they'll kind of totally forget about that finger. They'll use the next finger and then they'll forget about that finger and they'll use the next one. And pretty soon the hand's all tensed up like this. And then they try to go back and continue playing the pattern. And it's really over before it begun. Sometimes the thumb will do like this. They'll use the thumb and then the thumb will just travel. I've seen plenty of students where they'll play something. They use the thumb goes out here and it gets very tense, and then they use the fingers and then they struggle. This is why so many people will report all kinds of pain from guitar practice, because if you torture yourself like that for a half an hour a day, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. So what we're going to do is teach the fingers, each one of them, how to move without disturbing the other fingers and how to go right back to where they came from. That's really key, so that we're going to get this beautiful flowing action here, which we would be able to do fast, loud if we want to, and be very, very relaxed about it. So in our position here like this, with the thumb right, the wrist right, the fingers placed so that knuckle's below the string, we're going to first learn how to just move the thumb to play a note. So first let's just do this. Let's take it off the string and just move it like that over that next string. And then put it back on the string and play a note, a soft note. And then bring the nail of the thumb to touch the string behind. So I play this fourth string. Then I have my nail touch the string behind. That makes my thumb stay very close to the strings. Now, I'm going to take my index finger. I'm going to first teach my index finger the proper path. And the way we do that is, you see my fingertip touching the third string. You're going to take that finger. You're not even going to play a note, but just move the finger so that the nail touches the string behind, lays on top of the string behind. So it's here on the third string, and then it goes and touches the string behind. Do that a few times. What that forces you to do is move from this knuckle. What it prevents you from doing is this very bad thing that usually happens, which is making the movement from this knuckle. If I make the movement from this knuckle, I get this, and it brings the finger away from the string. Okay? I don't want that. I want the finger to move like this. After doing this a few times, we'll call that the nail back technique. Now I will play a light note with this finger, but I will still end up with the nail back there. Everyone do that. The better you get, the more force you can place on the string to play louder and louder notes without disturbing the whole hand. So let me see everyone do that nail back. Good. Stephanie, keep your thumb closer. Put your thumb on the fourth string as you do this and make it out. Yeah, stick it out like I want. Yeah. Okay, Stephen, that looks good. Amber, that looks good. Just watch that wrist. Did it go flat again? Is there a little bit of a bend? Okay. John, that looks good. Mikhail, that looks good. Yeah, you know the thing with the wrist is, you see, the one way to check is here, there's a straight line from my forearm right down through my hand, like we want in picking. What we want with the wrist for this is for a little bit of a curve, so that there's at the wrist, there's that little bit of a bend as the hand comes in. Sometimes I can't always tell from the front, you know, but I'm always checking that with students. It's, you know, you really can only tell from the side like that. Okay. So what we have so far is thumb and index. So if I were to play a note with the thumb and then a note with the index, and I'll start like this with all my fingers on. Then I play the thumb note, and I put the nail back against that string, and now I play that finger note, and I also do it with the nail first, and then I'll bring it back. So I'd have this. And at first it's good to retouch the string, which stops the sound like that, but gives you a little bit of support. Then you try it without touching the strings and just letting them ring. Staying close. I mean, my fingers are so close that if you look from above, and in the principles, this is what I mean by finger dipping. Okay, if you look at my fingertips, they're, get the right view here. Okay, you can see it right down in there, inside the strings, with the fingertip even going in between. That's how close it goes back. That's your goal, is to get the fingers to come back that close. With each finger. Okay. So even if I was playing fast, they would all come back. Now, let's look at the next finger. So I'm going back in this position. Oh, by the way, when another good thing to do as you're placing your fingers is to think of this, of stacking the fingers. See, I take the middle finger, I put it like on top of my index. Then I take my ring finger and I do this, and then I go into that curve with the thumb out, because we want the fingers touching like this. We don't want this. Okay, but everybody look good in that respect, but for the sake of completeness, I'll tell you that. Okay, so now I'm back in this position. Now I'm going to do the middle finger. The middle finger is trickier than the index finger. What I'm going to do first is I'm just going to move the middle, and I'm going to put the nail back on the string behind. I'm going to do that a few times, and then again I'm going to play a light note and still have the nail go back. You will notice when you do that, a little bit of tension, you see a little bit of tension comes into the hand right here and into that finger. It moves that finger out a little bit, which is okay as long as you feel it and relax it afterwards. You see how I relax it? Like as the middle is passing, it moves the index out a little bit, but when I bring the middle back, and to further understand this, if you put your finger right here, and then you take your index finger and you move it out to the side, you'll feel that muscle tighten up. Okay? That's an important muscle that connects to the thumb and the index finger. It is used to pull the finger out. we don't want that muscle to be activated. There are players that have a particular very bad habit where they play like this. And if you do that for a long enough period of time, this just stays hard all the time. Okay, so we don't want that muscle to activate. It'll activate a tiny bit as that middle finger goes by, but you want to feel it and you want to relax it. You see how my finger just comes back over? That's the kind of thing you want. So you have to really study that carefully. Now I'm going to play a note. I have everything touching, but I'm going to play a note with the middle finger. I'll still do the touch back with the nail. And then I'll bring it back to the string it was on. So let me see that with everyone. Keep your index finger touching the string while you do this. In order to even achieve that, you have to have such a relaxed shoulder. You got to constantly relax that shoulder. Okay, everyone looks good. Now, let's try this thumb, index, middle. I'm going to keep my ring finger touching that first string. I'm going to play thumb, bring the nail back. Index, at first I'll do the nail back on that too. Then bring it back to the string, and then middle. So I just played thumb, index, middle. And then I bring everything back so I look like when I started. When I end, I look like when I started. Let's look at the next finger. Each finger has its own challenges. The big challenge with this finger is people tend to not have that knuckle below the first string. They tend to have it up like this before it makes its stroke. In other words, they tend to have it in rest stroke position instead of that little bit lower. And because they have it in rest stroke position, they get something between a rest and a free, and it makes things tense up, and it makes the pinky tense up. And that is a very bad habit that cannot take root in the beginning. So you want to look here and make sure that that knuckle, that you've lowered your hand enough so that that knuckle's a little bit below the first string. And then do the nail going back with that finger. Like that. Let me take a look at that. Right, good. Now the pinky, actually no one's got a big problem with the pinky. What will really go wrong with the pinky, and the worst thing is when the pinky curls. If the pinky moves a tiny bit, it's not so bad. It'll move when we play. If I'm playing fast, using free strokes like this, it'll move a little wave along, but that's what we don't want. So, but one thing you can do is you can hold the pinky, make it real loose, and then you just practice swinging the ring finger back and forth like this. And then you can play a note like that, play your free stroke, and you kind of stick the pinky out like this before you make the stroke, and then you'll get it not to curl. So I have all my fingers on, and now I'm just doing the ring finger. And let me see that. Good. Nikhil, I can't see your ring finger. I need a little bit lower on you. Yeah, good. All right. Let me see that, Patty. Good. Okay, that looks good. Everybody looks good. All right. So we've done each finger separately. You're going to do that when you practice. In fact, just watch this video, follow it exactly, and do the same steps every day. And then we will try putting it together. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to play each finger one after the other. I'm going to put it back in place so I will look the same when I finish as when I started. So at first I'm going to do all that nail back stuff. So I'm going to play thumb, touch the nail back, index finger, touch the nail to the next string, then bring it back to the string it played. Middle finger, touch the next string, bring it back to the string it played. Ring finger, making sure I'm low enough, goes to the ring finger. I'll put the nail back on the third string and then bring it back to the first string. So now I'll do that. Okay, so let's see that. There you go. Very nice. That looks perfect. That looks perfect. Stephanie, I can't see your ring finger. Just, yeah. You'd have to lower the camera a little bit for me to see the ring finger. Everyone looks good. Can you get your thumb to be straight? See, if you people have different thumbs, but right now your thumb has this bend here. Can you get it to go like that? Okay, let me see you do like a hitchhiker here. Let me see your thumb like this. Hear me? Yakel, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I want to see your thumb not bend here. Can you get your thumb out straight like that? Yes. Yeah, work with that, okay? Yes, there's going to be different shapes your thumb is able to take. Because look, the thumb has 3 bones. Each finger has 4 bones. Okay, the thumb has only 3 bones. This bone right here, or I'm sorry, this bone right here is the metacarpal where it joins the wrist. Then it's got this bone, and then it's got that bone. That means it has 3 joints. You can unify each one of those joints by straightening that and then straightening that one. And then you get a thumb that looks like that. And what you want to get the feeling of is moving the thumb from the joint at the wrist. So up and down like that. Yeah. And in fact, let's cover this exercise from the principles, which is really apropos of this, getting this with the thumb, is if you take all your fingers and you put them on the first string like this. So they're still grouped together and the thumb is out, but they're all on the first string. Now, slowly move your thumb to the second string. Keep your mind in your shoulder as you do it. Because as I extend my thumb, I'm going to bring it to the third string now. My shoulder's going to tense a little bit. I have to keep relaxing it. Now this is called the thumb up exercise. It's very good to do once or twice. Make sure your wrist doesn't go down at all here. Now here's the most extreme position, where the thumb and the index finger are most extreme. See, Amber, check that wrist elevation again. Is it there? Okay, yeah, just out a little, okay. And the bend, make sure that little bit of bend is there. So it's not just that it's away, but there's that little bit, yeah. Okay, so this is really good to do and to pose here, because that's the most stressful position that the right hand is going to have to take. If I have to play something like where the thumb is going back and forth from, say, like the 4th to the 6th or the 3rd to the 6th, it's a real great skill to be able to keep the position and keep the whole arm relaxed while the thumb travels around. That messes a lot of people up. They'll get all tense just because the thumb. So we want this independence from the thumb. And there's that feeling like my thumb is moving from the wrist like that. So this is a great exercise to do at random, right before you do these other exercises for the fingers. So now, okay, so we just did each finger and then put the finger back on the string. You want to do that first, and now I'm going to play each note. And this is the hardest thing to do. I'm going to keep it as close as possible without touching the string. So thumb, but as close as possible, but I'm not touching. Index takes the same path as if I was going to put that nail back, but I don't put the nail back. And I leave it near the string it just played. And now the middle. And you see, as each finger plays, all the other fingers are at their station. You have to consider each finger like it's part of a team. See, my ring finger plays and the other fingers stay. And then just the ring finger goes back. So if I play each finger in turn, I get this. And each time, the motion is initiated from that knuckle. And that is a great achievement, and it's the first achievement we want. You're going to, as always, follow the basic practice approach. You're going to sit there, do all this stuff, no tempo. Then you're going to test yourself at 4 clicks. And you're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. And constant awareness of the shoulder and the breathing and relaxing the whole body is essential here. So let's try some of that. Stephanie, wrist out a little bit. You don't have that curve. Yes, yes, yes. Honey, that looks good. That looks real good. Yeah, that looks real good. John, just keep that thumb out. Yeah, keep that thumb out. Try to unify the joints of the thumb. Meaning make the thumb a little, yeah, just a little straight. That's good. Nikhil, I think you're getting tense around the thumb area and the wrist is getting flat. Watch that. Bring the wrist out a bit. Yeah, that's it. That's better. That's good. That's good. So that's it. And we want to build this up. I would say this week, you need a good at least 15 minutes, 20 minutes on this. Go through the recording and follow it step by step for the first couple days. You really got it. Master at no tempo. Master at 60 at 4. Bring it on up. If you can get to 60 at 1 with this, still keeping your position, that is a wonderful thing. And that'll look like this then. You see my fingers act like they're on springs. They spring back. As soon as they play, they spring back. These notes will look 16ths. And for 90% of anything you're going to do, unless you're playing classical repertoire. In classical repertoire, we need to get our arpeggios way up there. Like we need to be able to get them that fast. In popular styles of guitar, you're never required to play them that fast. Um, and in order to play them that fast, we have to get into other things than just the behavior of the fingers. When I play this fast, what's really making that happen is not just the behavior of the fingers, it's the behavior of the whole arm. I'm actually adding my arm weight to it. That's a more high level thing that I get in those other stages. For now, let's just master the finger action. And what, if you get it up to, you know, one click, you could try putting down chords that you know. You know, a great test is to take a G chord and play that sixth string, and then play the fingers out. Have the, if you do that, have the thumb move immediately to the fourth string. After it plays, play out the fingers, then you play the sixth string, and then you bring the thumb. And you have, you know, a bona fide finger picking pattern there. When you get this, you know, they have books full of different finger picking patterns, but they're all, I wouldn't say useless, but limited if the basic movements aren't in the hand. If you can do this perfectly, you'll be able to do any of those other movements you come into, or picking better. You know, there's a million different types of patterns that people do in their finger picking, and they'll all be easy. All right, John, I wanted to do something about that fourth finger of yours.
Yes.
Yes.